Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are David Wood, a data privacy manager whose specialist subject is the Pitch Perfect films. Emily Wolfenden, a software engineer who's answering questions on the Appalachian Trail. Emma Laslett, a disability benefits officer whose subject is talking heads. And Hugh Ashton, a writer, his subject, the Apollo space program. Our four semi-finalists are under the usual pressure of the ticking clock and so on, but they also know that whoever wins tonight will win a spot in the grand final and become the owner, perhaps, of this glass bowl, beautifully made by the man who's been making them for Mastermind since it all began all those years ago. The rules remain the same, 2 minutes on their specialist subject tonight and 2.5 minutes on their general knowledge. So let's have our first contender, please. And your name is?
David Wood.
Your occupation?
Data privacy manager.
And your specialist subject?
The Pitch Perfect films.
A trilogy of comedy films set in the world of a cappella singing competitions. Here we go. In Pitch Perfect, singers at the Barden University a cappella auditions have to sing 16 bars of a Kelly Clarkson song. Which song?
Since You've Been Gone.
Yep. Which actress plays the role of Gail, the co-commentator of the a cappella competitions featured in the trilogy? She also directed Pitch Perfect 2.
Elizabeth Banks.
Yep. In Pitch Perfect, Jessie tells Becca that the films with the best scores and soundtracks of all time are Jaws, E.T., The Breakfast Club, Star Wars, and which other?
The Godfather.
Rocky. What's the first name of Becca's stepmother? Becca refers to her as the step monster in the first film.
Sheila.
Yep. The Pitch Perfect films are loosely adapted from a book called Pitch Perfect, The Quest for Collegiate a cappella Glory. Who wrote the book?
Mickey Rapkin.
Yep. In a short film entitled Hollywood of the South, included as a DVD extra with Pitch Perfect 3, it's revealed that the scenes set in France, Italy and Spain were actually shot in and around an American city. Which city?
Atlanta.
Yep. In the first film of the trilogy, Becca starts an internship at the college radio station. What's the four-letter call sign for the station?
W-B-U-K.
J. At the Barden Bellas initiation ceremony in Pitch Perfect, the new Bellas have hoods put over their heads and their identities are revealed one by one. Which soprano is revealed first?
Ashley.
Jessica. In Pitch Perfect 2, Emily Junk is a new student who joins the Barden Bellas and whose mother had also been a Bella when she was at Barden. Which Oscar-nominated actress plays Emily?
Hayley Steinfeld.
Yes. Who was the costume designer for all three Pitch Perfect films?
Pass.
Members of which real-life American football team appear in Pitch Perfect 2 as part of an a cappella group taking part in the Dragon League Showdown?
The Green Bay Packers.
Yes, in the second film, Bumper prepares a romantic meal for Amy, at which he asks her if she'll consider dating him. One of the dishes at the meal is a huge bowl of capers, which Bumper describes as tasting like what?
Salty peas.
Yes, in Pitch Perfect 3, the Bellas reunite for a tour playing to American forces in Europe, and before they leave, there's a scene that shows all their passports. Lily's passport lists her birthplace as a specific location in Nevada. What location?
Area 51.
Area 51 is correct. You had just one pass, David. The costume designer for all three of those films was Salvador Perez. You have a score of 9 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Emily Wolfenden.
Your occupation?
Software engineer.
And your chosen subject?
The Appalachian Trail.
A hiking trail in the eastern United States. Here we go. The Appalachian Trail extends north to south across 14 states in America. Georgia's at the southern end of the trail. Which state is at the northern end?
Maine.
Yep. The lowest point on the trail is near a bridge across the Hudson River in New York State. The bridge is named after what mountain?
Bear Mountain.
Yep. What elevated lookout point on the trail in the Great Smoky Mountains is named after a companion of the early travel writer Horace Kephart? The name alludes to the fact that his companion had a sore foot at the time.
Clingman's Dome.
Charles Bunyan. The trail is more than 2,000 miles long and around a quarter of its length is in a single American state. Which one?
Virginia.
Yep. In the 1930s, the Appalachian Trail Conference chairman, Myron Avery and Benton Mackay, who first had the idea for the trail, fell out over public roads along the route called Skyline Drives. Mackay referred to his preferred placement of roads by what name?
Alongside.
Flank line. On part of the official trail route in the state of Maine, hikers must cross a 200-foot wide river by using a free ferry service, which is provided during the hiking season in the form of a canoe operated by locals. Which river?
The Comanche?
The Kennebec. A statue of a celebrated 19th century poet and essayist stands beside the trail in Bear Mountain Park in New York State. Which poet?
Walt Whitman.
Yes. A hiker who manages to walk the entire length of the Appalachian Trail in one season is known as a through hiker. Who became the first recorded through hiker in 1948?
Earl Schaffer.
Yes. A New Hampshire family gave their name to a well-known path they developed in the early 19th century that forms a section of the trail connecting Mount Washington to a notch or pass, also named after them. Which family?
Crichton.
Crawford. The headquarters of the Appalachian Trail Conservancy are in a town in West Virginia, well known for its importance in the Civil War. What's the name of the town?
Harper's Ferry.
Yep. What's the name of the grandmother who completed a through hike in 1955 at the age of 67? She attracted media attention because of her apparent frailty and her insistence on travelling light and wearing trainers.
Gatewood.
Is correct. You had no passes. Emily, you have scored 7 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Emma Laslett.
Your occupation?
Disability Benefits Officer.
And your chosen subject?
Talking Heads.
The American rock band formed in the mid-70s, fronted by David Byrne. Here we go. David Byrne, the lead singer and main songwriter of Talking Heads, was born in which town in Scotland? His family moved to Canada when he was 2 and later to America.
Dumbarton.
Yep. Talking Heads started out in 1974 as a trio when David Byrne and Chris Frantz teamed up with Tina Weymouth, who would later marry Frantz. Around 76, they were joined by Jerry Harrison, who'd been a member of a band fronted by Jonathan Richman. Which band?
The Modern Lovers.
Yep. Chris Frantz and David Byrne first met while they were at the Rhode Island School of Design, and both belonged to a band that predated Talking Heads. What was the original name of that band?
The Artistics.
Yep. Talking Heads had their only UK top 10 single, with which song it reached number 6 in November 1985.
Road to Nowhere.
Yes, the video for the song, Road to Nowhere, begins with a shot of a building, the name of which appears on a sign above the door. What name?
Pass.
In 1977, a British musician and composer saw Talking Heads play live at the Rock Garden in London and later went on to produce or co-produce 3 Talking Heads albums. What's his name?
Brian Eno.
Yep. Which American artist and pioneer of the pop art movement was commissioned to design the cover for the Speaking in Tongues album? Because of production difficulties, it was restricted to a limited edition and later replaced with a different design.
Rauschenberg.
Yep. The band's 1984 concert film Stop Making Sense, directed by Jonathan Demme, was recorded at which venue in Hollywood?
Pantages Theatre.
Yep. The lyrics to the Talking Heads song E Zimbra are adapted from a poem by a German writer who was a founder of the Dadaist movement. Which writer?
Hugo Ball.
Yes. Which musician born in Guinea in Africa plays the kora, a type of harp, on the songs Mr. Jones and The Facts of Life on Talking Heads' 1988 album Naked?
Morikante.
Yeah. The album More Songs About Buildings and Food features a cover version of a song co-written and originally recorded by the soul singer Al Green. Which song?
Take Me to the River.
Yeah. The designer of the oversized suit worn by David Byrne during the Stop Making Sense tour described it as more of an architectural project than a clothing project. What's her name?
Gail Blacker.
Is correct. 1 pass. The name that appears on a sign above the door for the video for the song Road to Nowhere, High Vista Community Hall. You have scored, Emma, 11 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Hugh Ashton.
Your occupation?
I'm a writer.
And your chosen subject?
The Apollo space program.
In 2 minutes, starting now. From the surface of the moon in July 1969, Neil Armstrong announced the Eagle has landed. Eagle was Apollo 11's lunar module. But what was the name of its command module that remained in lunar orbit?
Columbia.
Yep. The astronaut who was in direct radio contact with the Apollo crews during their missions was known by the technical term Capcom. This job title was an abbreviation of what two words?
Capsule communicator.
Correct. Which Houston University was President Kennedy at in 1962 when he declared, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard."
Rice.
Yes. On the day before the launch of Apollo 8, the crew was visited by a famous aviator who compared his own flying exploits with the mission they were about to undertake. Which aviator?
Charles Lindbergh.
Yes. Which Apollo astronaut was known to his colleagues as Dr. Rendezvous? The nickname alluded to his academic qualification and his interest in the process of aligning two spacecraft in orbit.
Buzz Aldrin.
Yep. An important part of the astronauts' equipment during their missions were Hasselblads, named after their manufacturer. What were they?
Cameras.
Yep. Who was the youngest of the Apollo astronauts to walk on the moon?
Albean.
Now, Charlie Duke. The lunar landing site for Apollo 14 was a region of hills and craters named after an Italian monk and cartographer. Who was he?
Frau Moro.
Yes. The Space Center's Director of Medical Research and Operations on the Apollo program shared his name with one of America's early rock and roll stars. Who?
Chuck Berry.
Yep. In 1969, a professor from Caltech was brought in to educate the astronauts about field geology, and the crew of Apollo 15 named a spur on the moon after him. What was his surname?
Silver.
Yes. Apollo 9 didn't travel to the moon, but was an important mission because it involved an overall check of the entire Apollo spacecraft, including a test of the first crewed lunar module. Who was its commander?
McDivitt.
Yes. What was the name of the commander of the Apollo 16 mission who later became the first astronaut to command a space shuttle?
John Young.
John Young is correct. No passes, Hugh. You also have 11 points. Nice high-scoring round there. Let's have a look at all of the scores. In fourth place with 7 points, Emily. Third place with 9 points, David. Joint first place, 11 points apiece, Emma and Hugh. So it is the general knowledge round now, and if there's a tie at the end of it, which there very well might be, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they are tied on passes as well, then there has to be a tie break. So let's ask Emily to join us again, if she would please. And you start out with 7 points, Emily. All to play for, because we have 2.5 minutes of general knowledge starting now. How many wheels are there on a standard skateboard?
4.
Yep. Which of the planets in our solar system is named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty?
Venus.
Yes. Which BBC current affairs programme was first broadcast in November 1953? Its presenters have included both Richard and David Dimbleby.
PMQs.
Panorama. In maths, what name is usually given to a square array of numbers in which the numbers in each row, column and diagonal add up to the same total?
Magic square.
A magic square. What name is usually given to the phenomenon in which coral turns white as a response to changing conditions such as increased seawater temperature?
Bleaching.
Yes. What 1958 Alfred Hitchcock film opens with a rooftop chase? It stars James Stewart as a former police detective obsessed with a dead woman.
Pass.
Which large island off the coast of far eastern Russia is separated from the country's mainland by the Tatar Strait?
Irkutsk.
Sakhalin. An Anglo-French airliner capable of travelling at twice the speed of sound made its maiden flight in 1969, but stopped operating in 2003 after a serious accident and financial losses. What was its name?
Concorde.
Yep. Which American cartoonist created the Peanuts comic strip in 1950?
Pass.
In computing, an SSD is a drive which stores data without the use of physical disks. What do the letters SS stand for in this abbreviation?
Solid state.
Yes. What small, sweet plum with yellow to green skin was named after the botanist who introduced it to England in the 18th century?
A green gauge.
Yes. An 1898 novella by Henry James tells the story of a governess who becomes convinced that the young children in her care are being haunted. Which novella?
Emma.
The Turn of the Screw. Who was commander of the British Land Forces during the Falklands conflict in 1982?
Pass.
What informal name for the St. Mary of Bethlehem Hospital, a mental health institution in London, is now used as a term for disorder or
Bedlam.
turmoil? Bedlam is correct. The flag of a country in Southeast Africa features images of a book and a crossed hoe and assault rifle said to represent education, agriculture and defence. Which country?
Mozambique.
Yes, the Italian composer who wrote the music for the 1607 opera L'Orfeo is regarded as a key pioneer of the genre. What was his name?
Verdi.
Monteverdi. What large beetle with around 1,000 species breeds in rotting timber and gets its common name from the fact that the males in large jaws resemble antlers?
Stag beetle.
Yes, what name was given to the prefabricated floating piers used to resupply the Allied forces after the D-Day landings in Normandy in June 1944?
Pontoons.
Mulberry Harbours. Yeah. You had 3 passes, Emily. Sir Jeremy Moore was the commander of British land forces in the Falklands. Charles Schulz was that American cartoonist. Peanuts and Vertigo was the name of the Hitchcock film. You now have a total of 17 points.
Thank you.
And now David again, please. And David, you start out with 9 points, as you have just heard. 17 is the score to beat. Here we go with your general knowledge. The abbreviation AKA is used to indicate an alternative name for a person or word. What do the letters stand for?
Also known as.
Yep. Electrodes in an electrical device are conventionally divided into 2 contrasting types, cathodes and...
Anodes.
Yes. The 19th century poet Matthew Arnold described a city in southern England as the city of dreaming spires in reference to the architecture of its college buildings. Which city?
Oxford.
Yep. The 2 main constituents of brass are zinc and which other metal?
Copper.
Correct. What name was given to the American aircraft that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima? It was the name of the pilot's mother.
Enola Gay.
Yeah. The original series of a BBC television drama, first shown in 2006, was set in a comprehensive school in Rochdale. In later series, the school was in Greenock. Which drama?
Pass.
A Russian leader once said in a speech in Moscow that the Soviet Union would abandon its principles of communism only when a shrimp learns to whistle. Which leader?
Gorbachev.
Khrushchev. A traditional string quartet comprises 2 violinists, a viola player, and which other musician?
Cello.
Yep. In June 2019, which English football team beat Tottenham Hotspur in the final of the UEFA Champions League?
Liverpool.
Yes. The name of a spicy pasta sauce made mainly from tomatoes, garlic and red chili peppers is an Italian word for angry. Which sauce?
Arrabbiata.
Yes. The Eternity Code and the Opal Deception are part of a series of fantasy novels by the Irish author Owen Colfer about a teenage criminal genius. What's the name of this character?
Artemis Fowl.
Yep. Which is the only species of bear native to South America? It's sometimes called the Andean bear, but it gets its more common name from the pale-coloured markings around its eyes.
Spectacled bear.
Yep. Sign Your Name, Wishing Well and If You Let Me Stay were UK hit singles in the 1980s for which pop and soul singer?
Terence Trent D'Arby.
Yep. Which country occupies the western side of the Scandinavian peninsula?
Norway.
Yes. What long-running religious television series was first broadcast on Sunday, October the 1st, 1961, from the Tabernacle Baptist Church in Cardiff?
Songs of Praise.
Yes. What name was given to the enormous hooped skirts that were fashionable in the mid-1800s?
Pass.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's first use of each of the catchphrases "Hasta la vista, baby" and "I'll be back" was in which series of films?
Terminator.
Yes. Which river rises near Horsham and flows for 37 miles across West Sussex before entering the sea at Littlehampton?
The Tay.
The River Arun. Yep. 2 passes. The name given to those enormous hoop skirts was a crinoline, and the name of that school was Waterloo Road. You have, David, 23 points. And now, Emma, again, please. And you start out with 11 points, Emma. The score to beat, as you will have just heard, is 23. Here we go. The Great Pyramid at Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, is in which country?
Egypt.
Yep. In the words of a song, one of the characters from the Winnie the Pooh stories is said to have a top made out of rubber and a bottom made out of springs. Which character?
Tigger.
Yep. Who beat Roy Hattersley, Eric Heffer and Peter Shaw in a ballot to become the leader of the Labour Party in 1983?
Michael Howard?
Neil Kinnock. In the words of the theme tune of the television series The Beverly Hillbillies, which commodity is referred to as Texas tea?
Whiskey?
Oil. Otoplasty is a cosmetic procedure carried out on which part of the body?
The air.
Yeah. What French phrase is used in English to express resignation or acceptance of things as they are? The equivalent English phrase is, that's life.
C'est la vie.
Yeah. A Roman amphora made of blue glass decorated with white figures was restored after being smashed in 1845 while it was in the care of the British Museum, where it still is. It's known by what name?
Pass.
Which island in New York Harbor, now part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument, was America's main immigration station from 1892 to 1924?
Ellis Island.
Yes. Who wrote, directed and starred as Satan in the Radio 4 comedy series Old Harry's Game?
Pass.
Protium and tritium are two of the three isotopes of which chemical element?
Hydrogen.
Yes. What band topped the UK singles chart in 1970 with In the Summertime? They named themselves after a character from Old Possum's book of Practical Cats by T.S. Eliot.
Mungo Jerry.
Yep. What was the first name of the only legitimate son of the English King Henry I? He was drowned in the sinking of the White Ship in 1120.
Edward.
William. A certain expression for a point of no return originates from the actions of Julius Caesar, who started a civil war in Rome in 49 BC after he crossed a river in northern Italy. Which river?
Rubicon.
Yep. Three poets who lived in the Lake District in the early 19th century are collectively known as the Lake Poets. They're William Wordsworth, Robert Southey, and who else?
Courage.
Yeah. What Canadian dish consists of chips topped with cheese curds and gravy? Its name is thought to be related to the English word pudding.
Poutine.
Yes. What general term for pain or stiffness in the joints or muscles comes ultimately from the ancient Greek for a discharge from the body?
Rheumatism.
Yes. Duramen is the older inner layer of a tree trunk that is denser, darker and more resistant to decay when it's used as timber. What's the common name for this layer?
Heartwood.
Is correct. You had two passes there. It was Andy Hamilton, who was the star of that Radio 4 comedy series, Old Harry's Game, and that Roman amphora was the Portland vase. You have scored, Emma, 23 points. And finally, Hugh again, please. And you start out with 11 points as well, Hugh, and 23 is still the score to beat. Here we go. The trade union organisation known as the NUJ was formed in 1907. In this context, the letters NUJ stand for National Union of...
Journalists.
Yep. What measurement of a circle is twice the length of its radius?
The circumference.
Diameter. What French culinary term is also used in English for a large pan of hot water that surrounds a smaller pan in which foods can be cooked slowly or kept warm?
Bain-Marie.
Yep. The only city in the historic county of Cornwall is also its administrative centre. Which city?
Truro.
Yes. What's the name of the Prince of Tyre in the title of Shakespeare's play?
Timon.
Pericles. What is the largest internal organ in the human body? Its functions include storing glycogen and vitamins and regulating blood volume.
Liver.
Yes. In phonetics, a short, unstressed vowel sound is represented in most dictionaries by an inverted lowercase letter e. What's the name for this sound?
Schwa.
Yes. The artistic director of the opening ceremony of the London 2012 Olympic Games is also known for directing films such as Slumdog Millionaire and Trainspotting. What's his name?
Danny Boyle.
Yep. Which opera by Benjamin Britten is set on a British warship and is based on a story by Herman Melville? It was first performed in London in 1951.
Billy Budd.
Yes. Who was the last king of Italy? He reigned for just over a month in the summer of 1946 before the country voted to become a republic.
Victor Emmanuel.
Umberto II. What name for a feral horse of the American Great Plains comes from a Spanish word for stray or wild? They're descended from horses imported from Spain in the 16th century.
Bronco.
Mustang. In February 1982, the Jam had a UK #1 single entitled The Town Called what?
Alice.
Malice. In July 2019, who succeeded Vince Cable as the leader of the Liberal Democrats?
Joe Swinson.
Yes. Which religious leader born in Bohemia around 1370 was burned at the stake in 1415 after he was found guilty of heresy? Some of his ideas influenced those of the Protestant reformers of the 16th century.
Peter.
John Huss. In which town, a former centre of the cotton industry between Preston and Burnley, did the parish church of St Mary the Virgin become a cathedral in 1926 when a new diocese was created?
Blackburn.
Yes. What is the usual legal term for a person appointed by the writer of a will to carry out their wishes after their death?
Trustee.
Executor. Which actress, singer and music hall entertainer, born in Rochdale in 1898, stars in the 1934 film Sing As We Go and is well known for her signature song, Sally?
Gracie Field.
Yes. What 1973 film, directed by George Lucas, was based on his memories of growing up in a small town in California? Starred Richard Dreyfuss and Ron Howard, featured a soundtrack of pop songs of the 1950s and 60s.
American Graffiti.
Is correct. No passes, Hugh. You have scored 22 points.
Thank you.
Well, what a contest. Let's have a look at those final scores. In fourth place, with 17 points, Emily. Third place, 22 points, Hugh. Joint first place, 23 points apiece, David and Emma. And they have 3 passes each as well. So that means that most unusually, we will have a tie break. Now, what happens is this. I shall read the same 5 questions to both of the contenders, and the one with the higher score will win. So let me ask Emma to leave the studio now for obvious reasons. And David, if you would please come to the chair, and I shall give you your 5 questions. I will not be telling you whether you've got the answers right or wrong. That we shall learn in due course. So here are your 5 questions. Which band won the 2018 Mercury Music Prize for their album Visions of a Life?
The Lumineers.
What is the name of the tallest known volcano in our solar system? It reaches a height of about 13 miles and stands on the surface of Mars.
Olympus Mons.
Jeera is the Indian name for a spice obtained from the seeds of a plant of the parsley family and used as an ingredient in curry powder. What's the English name for this spice?
Coriander.
The tennis players Juan Sebastian Cabal and Robert Farah won the 2019 men's doubles final at Wimbledon. Both players are from which South American country?
Chile.
And which Scottish scientist was awarded the 1904 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his discovery of several of the inert gases?
Boyle.
Those are your 5 questions. If you would now return to your chair. And now let's get Emma back into the chair. And Emma, the same procedure with you. I shall read you 5 questions. I will not be giving the answers. Here we go. Which band won the 2018 Mercury Music Prize for their album Visions of a Life?
Wolf Alice.
What is the name of the tallest known volcano in our solar system? It reaches a height of about 13 miles and stands on the surface of Mars.
Olympus Mons.
Jeera is the Indian name for a spice obtained from the seeds of a plant of the parsley family and used as an ingredient in curry powder. What's the English name for this spice?
Coriander.
The tennis players Juan Sebastian Cabal and Robert Farah won the 2019 men's doubles finals at Wimbledon. Both players are from which South American country?
Argentina.
Which Scottish scientist was awarded the 1904 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his discovery of several of the inert gases?
Rutherford.
Emma, those are your 5 questions. Well, at the end of that tie-break, we do have a winner. David has a total of 24 points, but tonight's winner with 25 points, Emma. Which means, of course, that Emma goes through to the grand final. Congratulations to her. Now, if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.